ZBA meeting tonight, April 14th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order with pledge allegiance first. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show we do have a quorum, so we can go. Let the record show Mr. Sanque, Mr. Cronin, and Mrs. Ravena are absent. And anybody read the minutes from last meeting, March 26th?
Yeah, I have a question. Page 3. Mr. Cleary will look into the no-cost $1 million life insurance. I don't think that's what we meant.
I think you're absolutely correct. There was no mention of life. You were talking more about liability.
Liability.
So you're absolutely right.
I don't know what it meant by no cost.
Yeah, I think probably at no cost to the town.
Okay. I don't know if you want to edit that, Albert, or?
Yep, I got it in here. Okay. Make a motion to accept them.
I'll second that.
Hearing all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There is a public hearing. It's open from last meeting, March 26th, about the Magic Forest. We will get to that in a little bit later. But the next order is new business is a lot line adjustment for Tanner Frangella. Application for a lot line adjustment on the property owned by Joseph and Lynn Tanner, property located at 41 Ford Road, tax map 168.1-45. Council's here?
Yeah. This is I don't have a map anymore, so I gave you my own one, but this is a lot line adjustment between the Tanners and the Frangellas to cover a vegetable garden. The garden is shown on the area with the compass to the north of Frangella's current property. The deed will merge the parcel so that there's no new parcel to be established. The deed from Tanner will be just for the 0.90 acres, and then we will merge it with Frangella's deed so as to not create a new entity. It also, if you look at the other 3 homes on the street, this now will place this lot more in compliance with what the other folks have done, all of which were to merge into their property lots that were designated initially by Mr. Spoor, and this was Spoor, and the road, of course, at one point was called Spoor Development Road. That's really the long and short of it. We, as a courtesy and per an agreement, we've shown where Tanner's driveway is, the various dimensions from the proposed parcel to be merged at the critical points, and the house. These were not guesstimates. These were done by a draftsman to assure accuracy.
On that map?
Yes, what's in front of you, right.
Well, there's some hand-drawn notes in pencil.
Mine, per the instructions of the draftsman. How far is it from here to here? How far is it from here to here? How far is the house from there to there?
Well, Mr. Briscoe, I believe you are licensed, but not a licensed surveyor, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, but I was asked to get accurate measurements. So instead of going out there with a tape or a GPS gun, we hired a gentleman with some accuracy who told it to me for economic sake.
Okay. Does that one have the house on there?
That one, that's a copy of yours.
Yes.
And then the other one is what Jason has in the office with the Mylar and.
The only reason I ask is we are supposed to have the features and the buildings and the driveways and such on the property, so the lot line adjustments. So they weren't on this map. So the Mylars and the maps that Jason has in the office, they show the houses, the structures, the driveways, and the various features.
I was asked not to do that. I was asked to do this by measurement and to show only these lots, nothing else. That's the word that the chairman got back to me as a request, and I said, fine, I will do that.
Have you had a visual
Yeah, I mean,
On top?
if I'm looking,
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
A visual of what?
of the property and the buildings up there?
I only know Tanners, I really don't know Frangellas.
The reason was the cost, Mr. McGuire.
Yeah.
It costs us multiple thousands of dollars from the surveyor to come back out and shoot these, because he then has to locate them, as you know, from here to here, and this is a substantial parcel of land.
Right.
And an accord was reached to do it this way.
okay. So you're saying that our chair
Your chair.
said that that was what we wanted?
My understanding is that is so. Mr. Kinnery was party to that, I believe.
My understanding, Mr. McGuire, is that there's been a considerable dialogue between the building department and the applicant's representative. And as Mr. Biscone has reported, apparently there's some consideration of cost.
Yeah. I understand that.
So my understanding was that the chairwoman had indicated to the applicant that in looking at the rules did not expressly require a survey, but the rules expressly for lot line adjustment expressly require a map or survey. And in this instance, the applicant's intending, as I understand it, to comply and present to the board their, I'll call it their cost-effective approach to attempt to comply with the literal language of the lot line adjustment rule as it states map or survey by providing this survey and then describing it as a map with respect to the feature of the driveway. And I can't obviously speak for the chairwoman, but my understanding of her thought process as of, I'm not sure if it was the last meeting or within the last 2-meeting cycle. The understanding is that there is an existing non-compliant or non-code compliant condition with respect to the Frangella lot. It's a substandard lot.
Okay.
And so the thinking is that by adding the 0.9 acres, that will ameliorate the non-compliant condition. And her question was whether or not there were any structures or driveways on the 0.9 acres. I believe the representation was that is vacant. Her next question was, so that would reduce the non-compliance, if you will, between the Tanner boundary on the southerly bound of Tanner and the northerly bound of Frangella. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, Mr. Collins, that she had then asked for a depiction of the driveway because that was the closest adjacent feature. Yeah. And my understanding is the Tanner residence is, in layman's terms, far from the Frangella-Tanner boundary. I don't know the dimensions. The observation that I think is currently hers, as I understand it, is that the drawing reflects I'll call it a line where the driveway is, but it doesn't reflect where the northerly or southerly bound is, so you don't really know if that's the center line under the driveway, the northerly or southerly bound, and that would be significant, I think, for the board to know. With respect to the other features, I think that the chairman has a thought with respect to whether or not there are any buildings of any non-compliant condition, but that's the history of it in a nutshell, as I understand it.
The reason that I find this concerning is that we're proving potentially looking at a lot line adjustment here, and we don't necessarily know if the lot is conforming with setbacks for any buildings that might be located on the site. And, you know, I'm sure it's fine. I can look at satellite imagery and see that it looks like it's okay, right? But I'm not a licensed surveyor. I'm not one to make those distinctions. As Mr. Kinnery pointed out, the law does say a map or survey showing the parcels of land, which upon reading that, I think that's probably a defect in the local law, because being the one who gets to look at these maps when they get filed with the county,
You do, that's correct.
I wouldn't want a map. I'd want to, you know,
You
we'd
should
take a
know I
survey.
drew that law
So,
with the predecessor of the current supervisor.
Yeah.
The purpose of the law was to make the burden on the applicant lighter than a subdivision. So we did not request or require a full survey. The only issue that wanted to be brought forth was there any buildings or improvements on the lot to be merged? And that, I believe, is the wording in there. And the lot to be merged is where the vegetable garden is, and there are no improvements on it.
So the parcels of lands to be adjusted or merged, so
You got it. You're reading it, Mike.
parcels of land, so that would be both pieces, right? So,
No, it wouldn't be the 14 acres. You could carry it to an extreme, for instance. You have a 3-foot encroachment of a guy's fence on the neighbor's lot, which is most of these lot line adjustments. No consideration past hands. If you want to read the code literally like you're reading it, which was not the purpose, you'd have to do a blown survey of both parcels of land to the cost of $3,000 for a 3-foot lot adjustment. That is not the intention here. Most towns don't even require this formality. You write a letter to the building inspector in Bethlehem, in Athens.
well, then they would require a survey to accompany that letter, because the only way that
They
that
require
property would be.
some form of a map,
updated
Mike. Right.
To be that the survey would be recorded with the county clerk's office as part of that lot line adjustment, and then be mapped for taxing purposes.
That is the understanding of the statute that I drew, was to lighten the burden.
Right,
To
and
go to
yeah.
this extreme, right.
Fair enough.
Cost is prohibitive. You're never gonna get a lot line adjustment in this town to interpret it the way that you're reading
I
it.
mean, we had one that was approved last meeting
Mhm.
that showed the buildings that were encroached, and that were encroaching across the line.
See the
And
word?
so both, but all the parcels, the
Right, this
buildings
is
on the
not the
property.
case here. There are no encroaching buildings.
No.
Closest building is 250 feet back from the parcel to be created.
But I do have to agree with Mr. Kinnery that which way is the driveway going from that line? South, north?
How wide is your driveway? 10 feet? Okay. Mine's 12 feet.
I don't, you know, if that's the center, or that's the right, the south, north,
You know,
I think that's,
I don't know that answer. It's immaterial and it's irrelevant, because if it's only 10 feet wide, the interpolation is still, it's nowhere near the property to be created. The key to all of that was, did the driveway come across the 9/10 so that we had to reserve an easement or something of that nature? That is not the case. And that goes with what you're saying, Mike. Is there any encroachments? No, there's not. Was there any other questions, though, that I could help or address?
what do you think, Mr. Bill?
Well, I think that, number one, it probably bears mention to have the code enforcement officer articulate what some of the history is and where this stands. And then I think it's a matter for the board to determine what it requires. I certainly think that at a minimum, you want to have a sense of the 10-foot driveway in terms of the northerly or southerly bound. And, you know, I do tend to, for what it's worth, if I may add, tend to agree with Mr. McGuire's reading. I do think that it is plural. We always think of it for what it is, and that is it relates to both lots. You know, the level of detail, I'll leave that to the board and the code enforcement office in terms of what is required. But I do think that, you know, from what I've learned of this, the feature that is the most, I'll call it proximate to the lot line adjustment that could create the greatest problem, I think it ameliorates problem, is the driveway in terms of locating the north or south boundary of it. That way you have a measurement from what is proposed to be the northerly bound of the new Frangella lot.
So what are you proposing now?
That would be my suggestion at a minimum. And then I think the board has to consider Mr. McGuire's point with respect to requiring inclusion of buildings so that you can have an understanding of how far the buildings are from the lot lines. That's really your point.
And, I mean,
This could assist your question.
I have satellite imagery that I have
Hey.
right here.
So let's share them. Here's going to show you where your driveway is.
So I would point out, though, that satellite imagery is not a survey, right? It's a tool that can be used to help inform decision-making,
I
but
could pretty much guarantee you that that code's going to be relied to. It's to the side of the driveway, not even the center. So the 10 feet
So
goes
it's-
towards Kingdom Come.
Okay.
Right. Hopefully that addresses the questions.
So you probably want to state that,
In the letter or something.
to get an understanding of what is where as it relates to the 10 feet width of the driveway.
That work?
I don't even know where the driveway is, to be honest, because there isn't one on this map. There's the line here that I think is this the driveway? That's. Okay, no, we're talking over here, right?
There's his house. And it comes off the other corner here.
That's our driveway.
And you said
Okay.
and the driveway's going this way.
Is that the phone I just gave you?
Yeah, don't forget that.
Okay.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
So it's 50 feet from the edge of the
Yes,
driveway.
he has his house up there already.
The driveway's going this way.
So I'm looking at 24 imagery, so the house is newly built.
What did you want done, Bill? You wanted some history given by the building inspector?
I think,
Thank you.
depending on if the board wants it, I think
There we go.
the question is a little bit of the history and then what, if anything, the board requires with respect to the map. I can tell you that on our initial review, just so you have a sense of our thinking, it is exempt from review. It's a type 2 action. And it does appear that it would trigger 239.
No, it's more than 500 feet.
Is that more than
Yeah.
500 feet
Yeah,
up from
you're
the?
way down to Sport Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not where you measure from because the lot that's affected is the Tanner lot. And doesn't Tanner have frontage on 143?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So then it would be.
So you're within.
Yeah, fires at 239.
And I don't, just for
With
the
the
board's
lots.
assistance, I don't see any reason, I mean, it's up to you in terms of the timing, but I think that can get
Yep.
going.
Yeah.
And I don't know the meeting cycle, Jason, so that people know. And there's no requirement of a public hearing.
Actually,
Exactly, no requirement for a board hearing unless deemed appropriate, which is what we're at, so I assume it's been deemed appropriate. You're saying because the area of the Tanner lot in Toto touches the county route, you need a 539? So do you take care of that, Jason?
yes, sir.
Okay. Well, he'll send his letter out, and anything else required? Anything else the board would like to know?
You want that in writing about
the history of all of
the
this?
driveway?
Yes. Yeah. We can have that.
You're all set?
So what do you, I
No.
think you get it clear in terms
Yeah.
of
So,
what you
you
need.
just want a letter saying which way that driveway is, oh, you got this one. Which way the driver's width is going to be from that line this way. You told me, right? North?
And I assume you mean from me?
Yes.
Is that, don't you want it drawn on there? So that you
Oh, you want it
have-
drawn
I would
on
like to
there?
see, understand where the 10 feet,
Yes.
is it north or south of the
So
line?
where that line is, I mean,
Yeah, he told me north, I believe.
Anybody got a pencil? Oh, yeah. Well, put it in tonight and I'll follow it up with a letter.
so that would also need to be on the Mylars as well, right?
No.
And, sorry?
No, this is not on the Mylar, Mike. That's the reason for this accord that we had.
If we're approving a map, right, as part of a lot line adjustment that's gonna be signed and stamped by this board, the copy that gets filed with the county clerk needs to be the exact same as what we're approving.
So you want me to hand draw this on the
I
Mylar?
mean, I really want it to be drawn by a surveyor, but I think we're making a accommodation
So who
in
do
the
you,
consideration of the client's, not trying to make this an outrageous cost, but, typically, again, when we have lot line adjustments, we're seeing those features, driveways, homes, buildings, et cetera, on these properties.
on which property?
I would,
On these properties?
showing the parcels of land to be adjusted and merged, right? So parcels, in my opinion, would be all the parcels that is involved in this
See, that's not the
situation.
intention when
I
we do
will,
it.
then I would default to my counsel
Right.
for our board.
These are the
And I
parcels.
believe Mr. Kinnery has already said that he would agree with that reading indicating that it is both parcels of land that are involved in a lot line adjustment. This was going on, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I just want, my concern here is
What do you want me to do on the Mylar?
I would like to be able to see that driveway and also those buildings. Now, I don't know if everybody else feels the same way as I do, and we are a board here. I'm not.
Candidly, I'm not authorized to modify a Mylar.
Right, and
So you've actually put this application between a rock and a hard place. I can't do what you're requesting.
it almost looks as if the documents that were provided were insufficient to meet the requirements that are set forth in the local law from the get-go. And it's not our,
That could be your interpretation of it,
right,
not mine.
Right.
Do you want me to do anything more than this?
No.
And I'll do it on his too.
So again, I still believe that anything that's filed with the county clerk needs to represent what is going to be approved by this board.
And that's not what I was requested by the chairman.
Well, we do have another meeting where we will discuss this, so we could probably hash it out between now and then, but, you know.
So here's the 10 feet. I've now determined that the driveway, because you didn't understand that that was a driveway, it was nothing more than a line.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, I heard it. Anything else?
I don't know.
Mr. Collins,
Chairman?
Bill 239 will be seen of May 15th.
That's the meeting, Jason?
That's the meeting,
That's the meeting.
yes.
May what, please? May what?
15.
5:15? And I don't believe my attendance is needed.
That's for Albany County Planning Board.
Oh.
That's the meeting, when they, when they review the
That's the next meeting for the Albany County Planning Board. And are you guys having another night on this or no?
I mean, we
It
would
won't be
be,
until after that, the next meeting after that.
Okay, and what's
I
that?
don't have the dates in front of me.
Just give me a second. June 9th.
June the 9th?
Ninth.
for that.
So, Mr. Bill, can we still accept this?
No, sorry.
No.
My fault. May 28th.
May 28th. May 28th, Mike, on
Here.
this meeting.
That's Memorial Day weekend and also happens to be my birthday. I'll be
So
out of the
Wednesday.
state.
Hold on a minute.
Yes, sir.
Your birthday's May 28th as well?
Uh-huh.
It's a good birthday, isn't it?
Is it your birthday?
Yeah, it is.
Well, Michael's too.
And Gemini.
Both Mikes, 28?
Correct.
Mr. Riscott, I knew I liked you.
That went full circle.
So, I don't believe that I'm gonna be needed to hear your 239 from the Albany County Planning Board. So what's your next date after May 28th, Jason?
June 9th.
Well, you won't hear back from the Albany County Planning Board by May 28th anyway, correct?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, sure.
You will?
Their meeting's the 15th.
Okay. So your next meeting is June the 9th? Why don't we put it on for that night?
That's their decision.
That's what it will be, because that's when we'll have the 239 back, right? Oh, no, no.
You have it by
back
May
to
28th, but I'm not gonna be here. I don't know if Mr. McGuire will, but I'm not.
Yeah,
All right, so June the 9th for, am I saying it right?
June 9th.
I'm not gonna, if you need me, I'll come. Tell me if you need me, or have the chairman say that she needs me. At this point, I've done everything she's requested. The board will have to discuss it internally otherwise, but that's what I've requested. And apparently there's confusion in the statute, which I hope to correct in the not too distant future so that the issue doesn't come up for other applicants, okay? And so that you're also aware in the other towns, and I've done dozens of these lot adjustments. When someone owns a tract of land like the Tanners, there's no requirement for a lot line adjustment to cite a house that's hundreds of feet beyond anything here. What the town code enforcement officers request, is there anything that encroaches on the lot, and that would be Frangella's lot, or on this lot, those are the lots that I was referring to in the statute, that would need to be shown to your board for consideration. Understanding that in Bethlehem, the board never even sees this. It's all done by the code enforcement officer, period, and in other towns as well.
It's up by code enforcement as well.
Correct.
But
Correct.
they're also surveyed, there's maps or surveys.
I can't disagree with what you're saying there, sir, but understand that to show you have a 15-acre parcel of land here in the back. The request to survey every infrastructure
Yeah.
on that is oppressive. And this code was passed with the direct intent to make this less cumbersome than a lot subdivision. This is a boundary line adjustment, and you're concerned with what affects the boundary line adjustment, not anything else, nor should you be.
It would have been nice to see the driveway on there, that's all.
Okay, the guy wanted $1,500 to plot the driveway, $2,000 to plot the house. I was requested to plot the well and the septic as well. Okay, are you kidding? You just made this code more oppressive than a subdivision, not the meaning of it.
But the other towns he's talking about, when you get the Mylars, everything's,
It's all on there.
even though the code enforcer does all of it.
What were you saying, Albert?
That those features are on the maps that we received from those other
That's correct.
municipalities.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
basically, the code enforcers could take care of this if the Mylar was,
Well, I leave it up to
In those towns,
Jeremy and
those
his council,
towns,
and-
right.
I don't know what their
statutes
This-
are.
Right.
the King's Code does not say that.
Right.
But yes, it's
That's absolutely
true, in other towns, this can be handled as an administrative action within the building department. But
Ergo, that's why I was requested to draw those on the map. I cannot draw them on the Mylar.
correct.
Did you want to hear the history of this so that maybe you get a better understanding? Tanner built this house. You folks decided on the subdivision from the Atlantic Cement Company or whatever the Dickens.
Yeah.
Okay? And Tanner got this parcel of land from the cement company. He then applied for a building permit, built his structure. No site plan was asked for because it was physically inspected to show nothing was near boundary lines. He then applied for a building permit when he was done, and he got that issued, again, with no site plan, no map, no indications of boundaries, because there was actual knowledge that nothing encroached and that nothing was near the boundaries. So when I requested the site plan map, which would have obviated most of your questions,
Didn't
okay,
exist.
I was told one didn't exist. Okay, now you're putting that burden on the Frangellas with limited financial needs to comply with something that already was passed on and that actual knowledge was obtained. With those facts and circumstances in place, that's why this accord was reached. And if it doesn't, from your interpretation of the code, strictly comply with it, there's other issues here as well. And I think you could understand why, because that is your business. Okay?
But we still,
I would just remind the board members that the code section, if you don't mind, just take a look at it, what we're talking about. Is 111-5. And it's in chapter 111.
I think that's what,
It was maintained, right, Jason, in the renumbering? It
yes.
stayed as 111.
But when I gave it to them in their booklets, it's 144.
Oh, good, that's a good point.
Local law number.
So look for local law.
6.
Yeah, and it's titled Lot Line Adjustments and Mergers. And it takes you through the purpose and the definitions, and what we've been discussing tonight is 111-5, and in particular B. And I would also suggest you take a look at D, which states any other information that may be requested by the planning board, zoning board of appeals. The B is the subsection we've been talking about tonight.
so, can we accept the application?
I think you can accept it with the, and I'll leave that to the board members in terms of where you stand, but I think that there's some work to be done with respect to the map, as I understand it. And I think it's just important that it's clear. And maybe that's unresolved amongst the board, I don't know.
My grandmother's farm was on the end of that sport development. And we played on all that land where Joey is there. So I'm very familiar with that property, and I know where Carmen's house is, and I know where Danny Oak's house is, and Preston Lights, and there are no structures back there. There's no reason why this lot line adjustment would be a problem. I physically played on that for 40 years ago.
Would it be a problem for you
So-
not having it on the Mylar? What would
The-
happen?
This lot line adjustment is pretty straightforward, right? We're moving 9/10 of an acre, but my concern is that if we're allowing for a hand-drawn line by a non-professional surveyor, right? We are then setting ourselves up for a future precedent where we would allow for that type of modification on other maps that are gonna be coming before us. It's not this case, it's the whole issue, right, for any future lot line adjustments. And there is some ambiguity in the code and the way it's written, and maybe that needs to be clarified through an action of the town board, but, my concern is that someone could come down the road, say, I have a hand-drawn map that I myself drew, and I want you to adjust my property and put, 10 acres from this lot over to this lot. There's no structures, there's nothing else that would need to be shown on here. It doesn't say I need a survey, I just need a map, and I drew a map. So that's my concern.
A potential way to bridge that is if the board is able, and I don't know if you're able right now, but if you're able at this meeting, maybe it requires another meeting, to articulate to the applicant exactly what it is you want to see, because it is an issue in terms of the chairperson does have to sign the Mylar. It will be stopped at the county. And it won't, they won't allow it to go forward and they won't allow it to be recorded. So if the board can be clear with respect to what it requires on it, on the map, on the Mylar, I think that would be really helpful to the applicant. And if the board feels that you're not prepared to do it, my suggestion is get prepared, because that's where we're going with this.
Why wasn't there a site plan done when you built your house, Joey?
What's that?
Why wasn't there a site plan done when you built your house?
Because it's big enough acreage,
Yeah, there's 14 acres there.
and it was newly surveyed already,
Yeah.
and there was ribbons
Well, where's the survey?
Oh,
filed at county.
yeah.
Who has the survey? Did Lafarge do that?
No, I have one too, in the office.
Of the gross acreage, not of the site of the house.
It doesn't show the improvements that were made.
Right.
No as-built.
So you can see that this continuation and the weakness of the foundation isn't just based on you bending the code or whatever you're saying here. There's history here that also sets in, and there's actual knowledge. This gentleman, and I would imagine all of the guys out in the Queens Hollow area have actual knowledge where these structures lie. And that's of some moment here. You may not. But
Mr. Stone, I've been down the road, I'm familiar with the town, but I appreciate the local knowledge, but what happens 20 years from now, right? If that local knowledge is no longer here, what documents do we reflect on if there's a problem down the road? And again, I'm not saying that this site isn't, maybe this isn't an issue, but the board as a whole, I feel like that there should be some clarity as to things that need to be on these maps. And, I think we belabored the point enough. I think we could accept the application, we can discuss it further and go from there.
That description will be on the deed, won't it? Of that property, of the Frangella property?
What do you mean by the description?
The new description on the deed,
Absolutely.
so there wouldn't be any problem about a confusion about that. It'll be a new deed showing the description. So much to the north, so much to the south.
But we don't necessarily know where the driveway is, the other features in relation to that lot line. And I respect your measurements, but my point is, we're supposed to be taking a survey map. I feel like those should be on there from a surveyor, but we can move on to other things. That's fine.
It wasn't what the statute meant, I could tell you that. You could have had, what if this was 25 acres, Mike, and the driveway's 1,000 feet from this merge line? And that's not a wild accusation I'm making.
No, not here, but
Huh?
that's not wild at all in this town. I would agree with you, but.
All right. And everyone has actual knowledge where it is. We draw the two lots, or what I consider the two lots, the Frangella and the one to be taken over. and that's the end of it. And that's what the other towns do on boundary line adjustments. They want to know on this property, the subject property, is there encroachment? Not something a quarter of a mile away, which certainly isn't an encroachment, and that's why this gentleman made the correct call. He didn't need a site plan at that time. There wasn't anything near this site, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else from you guys? Or would you tell me if you'd like me to be on June 9th appearance or not? And you can leave that to Mr. Rogan or to you or to whatever you're
Yeah, we'll just let them know. Yep, it'll be one of them. I mean, you're not gonna be there 28th, so the 9th. Okay.
I could come the 9th. I don't think I'm having operation that day.
Not yet.
You have no idea what we're talking about, definitely. It's 7 operations in 2 years. Okay,
Pretty good then.
yeah, well, we're still operating. I'll come the 9th.
So somebody wanna make a motion to accept the application for the lot line adjustment for Joe Tanner and Lynn Tanner?
I'll make a motion to accept the lot line adjustment from Tanner and Frangella, an application, property owned by Joseph and Lynn Tanner, property located at 41 Spore Road, tax map number 168-1-45.
I'll second that.
With discussion that another meeting will be added to this.
Right.
We'll wait for the 239 and we'll do a little background check.
Sure.
Not that we wanna make any more expensive to the
Right.
people,
Right.
but, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Collins, can we make a motion to refer the?
Oh, yes, make a motion for the 239?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
For Jason to refer the 239 for the lot line adjustment to Albany County Planning.
I'm gonna have a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mike, do you want these?
I want my sketch or whatever.
Yep.
No, they
Mr. Squire
stay
called it.
they stay in my file.
Yours stays in your file, but this is a separate one from my file. I gave him for
He
review.
brought me up one.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yours is there. It's in front of Mr. McGuire.
Yes,
And you
correct,
keep that one.
correct.
And if we could bring the Mylars to the next meeting, unless you want me to come and get them, and I'll bring them, you tell me. He wants to know if he could bring the Mylars to the next meeting of June the 9th.
Sure.
Didn't say that yet.
That?
I didn't say that yet.
Oh.
Your face did.
No, it didn't.
Right.
Can you bring, can you bring him to the next meeting? Yes, he'll bring him to the next meeting. The June 9th meeting, June 9th meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, short meeting.
Let me see, get my papers here. Now, old business is the site plan review for Queeman's PGP LLC. Application for a site plan review on property owned by Joyce Maxted, property located at 1304-1322 State Route 143, tax map 166.2-3.11. Anybody here for that? Yep.
I guess just quickly, so I understand that there were quite a few,
What's your name again?
Jeremy,
Jeremy.
there were quite a few technical questions that came up at the last meeting, so we have our civil engineer here, Mark Strakowski, Alexa Marino,
Mark Strakowski.
Thank you, Mark.
and Alexa Marinos, who's our environmental manager. Any questions?
What was your last name?
Strakowski.
How do you spell that?
STRZALKOWSKI.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Your name?
Alexa Marinos.
What is it?
Alexa, like Amazon Alexa. Marinos, Marinos.
Now, all the research I did, Jeremy, your name kept coming up. energy. In a good way. And Rick Energy came up in a good way too.
Glad to hear that.
You're one of the better solar farm companies out there. I'm gonna go to bat for you a little bit. Did you talk to the city of Albany?
Yeah, so we've been, we actually had a call today with them, because I requested a formal letter to be sent from them. We need to make, we're working on a situation where we need to, I don't know, you can speak to it a little better, but.
Yeah, we talked with the water authority today. We discussed our site plan and they discussed how they would prefer to have as little cover as possible on the existing water transmission lines, 48-inch. It runs in that easement as it hits the state route. So we were, showing our plans, profiles, and discussing, if there was an alternative that we needed to approach, or just essentially limiting the cover on top of it. Currently, it shows 2 feet of cover to get 9% grade, so now we're going to have to put about 1 foot of cover on the front acreage portion. So the intention is essentially to raise or lower the profile at the beginning and still maintain a 10% as we go up. So we may have to do a little bit of cut into some of the earth to make sure we maintain that. But that was the majority of the conversation. They did say that they would provide as-built. It's a 1930s line that was installed, so the joints are made of material that, if you put too much pressure on it, it could cause leakage on the joints. So the intention is to reduce the amount of cover so that there's no issues during construction. So, we're just got that information today, so, working through the design and gonna put some alternatives out to the water authority to get their approval. And when we have that all in writing, we'll approach you guys with all that information so you can see all that. And that will be reflected obviously on the plans as well.
Who fixes the water line if you break it?
Who fixes the water line? I'm not the one that's at liberty to say that. I'm just an engineer, but I'm just gonna make sure it's not broken.
What size water line is it?
48-inch.
4 footer.
Yes. And I think it supplies about 100,000 people.
Yep.
So it's
Population
it's a significant infrastructure that we need to maintain. So that's the intention with the coordination with that department.
Did they indicate how long it would take for them to review that information and issue an approval?
No, they didn't give us necessarily a timeline. We did receive some of the as-built information, so the idea is to actually overlay that onto our plans, make sure it matches up with our survey. And then the intention is as soon as possible to give them updated plans. So, with my availability, probably later this week I could provide that. It doesn't take much time in terms of design work. So, the intention would be maybe end of the week we could give them some alternatives, and then, based off of the review times of things nowadays, it may take them about 2 weeks, I would assume, but, it could be upwards to a month, depending on the agency.
And we've been talking with them for, I want to say, 8 or 9 months now, so we're definitely at the final stages. And this is our first chat with the deputy commissioner. I've been talking to the watershed manager. So he's definitely, I think, mostly in agreement with everything else. It's just kind of finalizing this last piece.
Exactly.
But you have nothing in writing from them.
I shared with Jason our correspondence to date, but to get an official letter from them, I think that they want this piece finalized.
Bill, are they an authority or they're a division of the city of Albany
They're a
government?
division of the city. I don't believe they're a public authority.
Do you know, in your opinion, and your personal opinion as a professional, would that require an act of the town council of the city of Albany to approve that? Not sure. I'm just curious, because,
That would have been the same as the chimney top, and they didn't require it.
Yeah.
well, this is going to,
This deals with real property, so
The chimney top was the same scenario, right?
no, that was just, chimney top was on their property, not our, it wasn't on the water board property.
What was the issue with, why did they have to bring the water?
Yeah. The water line runs down through there.
Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to bring them
Okay.
in.
Yeah, the water line runs down.
All right.
I don't know.
Just curious, yeah.
There was a letter from Amy Walsh.
Yeah.
For the Jimmy Top property
Right.
to saying that nothing was affected.
Yeah. But here, I mean, there,
What?
with these easements, it may have to be presented to the council.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Right. Because their proposal is they have to cross it.
Right. The
Where,
comment letter from our engineers, I think, contemplates that.
Okay.
It states it as approvals from the town board. But I think that it's a
It's the city.
misnomer, it's the city. I think, I read it as intending to state the city.
For you guys, that might be something to ask them as well. I don't know.
Yeah, my understanding was, I guess, the commissioner would give
Okay.
approval or the water department board or
That makes
something.
life easier for you guys. Okay.
But I'll confirm with Amy.
Alright.
What about the cemetery?
So it's a private cemetery. I shared a document that the landowner shared with me, kind of giving some background of the history of private cemeteries in Queens. I think you could speak to the attention.
There
page.
is a letter in the SWIP, it's the SHPO letter of no effect, which essentially indicates that it's not historically registered portion. We did indicate on the plans to, adhere to the comment, the approximate footprint from aerial imagery. It was not surveyed to do headstones or anything of that nature, because it obviously is a private cemetery, we don't want to disturb it or anything. But the idea is obviously to not, impact any of that area within the design.
You have a SHPO letter?
Yeah, it's in the SWIP that we submitted to you guys. If you look through the appendices, it'll be in there. It's a bit long, I apologize, it's just the formalities of how SWIPs are nowadays.
And there's no wetlands on that, is there? Or is there?
Where's the what?
The cemetery, it's down here.
Oh, it's right here in the middle.
It's right in the middle?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. There's 2 small wetlands, kind of on either side, but far away.
Neither side
in
of
the
it.
footprint.
Not
Outside
within
of
the
the project.
Yeah, outside of the project.
Yeah, outside of the project limits, yeah.
And that's also indicated in our SWIP and the documentation. And it's also delineated on our plan as well.
And the Eastern Pipeline, Texas Eastern Pipeline?
Yeah, so I spoke with them to ask them to send a formal letter. They said they do not typically do those kinds of things, but they initially they wanted us to hold off until 6 months prior to anticipated construction to formalize the agreement, but they said they changed their process a little where they don't involve their land department. So we officially got started last week on the 60-day engineer review period. So I think about, after 55 days or so, we should have a formal approval. And the correspondence, a lot of it was over the phone, but the correspondence I had with them, I shared with Jason as well.
and I also forward them all to you guys.
Well, MJ isn't here tonight, our engineer. What do you think, Mr. Bill?
I just had one, I think Mr. Nolan was inquiring about the cemetery. And the last meeting, there was some discussion about the other features of the project relative to the cemetery. And I think your question was, what was the distance from the headstones to those features?
Right. You don't have any maps showing where the.
Correct, we put approximate boundaries, so we could give you
We
on
have a
plans.
device, it's called a sonar device that goes over top of the ground.
Correct. Yes, so obviously the updated plans only show the approximate footprints of where the limits of it is. It's not surveyed to indicate headstone.
And I think what Mr. Kinnery wants is some kind of buffer zone around the cemetery, just in case if there's a headstone, it's not in the right spot where they were buried.
Correct. Yeah, and if you see the plans, our LOD is not within that footprint, and there is adequate space away from
How
that.
much space is there?
Without looking at the plans, I'd have to do a measurement. Yeah, if you have a smaller barrier. You want me to look it up right now?
Well, we couldn't figure out the scale when we asked Jeremy
Sure,
at the
sure.
last meeting.
You could not figure out the scale, is that what you said?
Yeah, we asked Jeremy and he said he couldn't figure out your scale.
If you see the titled block of each sheet, it shows the scale, so that's the drawing scale. It's all at the bottom, it says 1 inch equals 80 typically.
That's what I wondered, but
Yeah.
I decided not to do it when he said not to, so.
Oh, okay.
We figured an expert would tell us.
Oh, sure, yeah. So these are, to the scales all indicated at the title block of each sheet. So I'd have to do like a measurement on off of mine here, if you really need to approximate. I'd say, from visibly looking at it, there's a 20-foot buffer at least minimum around the entire cemetery. That's just based off of looking at sheet C201. If you want me to pull out an engineering ruler, I could go and get that from the car, but it's also, if it needs to be delineated or we need to add annotation to that, that's perfectly fine, not a big deal.
Is there a future expansion to the cemetery?
Is there future expansion? I'm not aware of that, I'm the engineer here.
No, I don't believe the landowner has any.
Mossberg Cemetery.
I don't think it's been used for a while.
I've never known anybody be buried there.
Does the public access it?
It's in the
I think
field
they
there.
could.
I've only seen it on a motorcycle, dirt bike going up through there.
Right.
I doubt it.
Well, yeah, we used to plant corn there, I mean, we never plowed it. I never plowed it in.
But
Yeah.
What is the engineering approach, Mr. Nolan, is it not mitigation, it's avoidance? So you need to know where the headstones are so you can figure out the distance for the.
20 feet's kind of, you probably would want 50 to 100 feet, I don't know. Will that interfere with the panels?
I would assume so, if you look at the plans. Right, it would probably have to reduce some of the footprint of the panels, so that would decrease the amount of capacity for the site, yes.
I don't think 20's enough.
Yeah, you need a little bit more. 50?
Yeah, so the edge of the panels is about 20 feet to the LOD line, and then from the limit of disturbance line, so then another 20 feet, it's about 40. It might even be 50 if I measured it. It's adding essentially the addition of the annotation there.
So we went to 50, how about 75? Keep stretching.
You don't know where the headstones are, how do you measure that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would require obviously more in-depth information on that one.
Sonar that you're talking about, is that GP?
LiDAR.
Is that what you call it?
It works.
That's ground penetration radar.
Yeah.
That's for determining utilities typically though.
For what?
Determining utility elevations below grade, ground
What
penetration.
do you use for grave sites?
You would survey, no? That's an archaeologist and a surveyor. In it out.
And the reason we didn't include this in our survey is because the landowner requested that we remain outside of the cemetery. It's very small and trees surround the cemetery. So that gives you a good idea exactly of where it is. It's not like there's gravestones or headstones, all throughout the field. It's in a very confined section. So.
How many people are buried there? 10?
Yeah, that's probably a safe estimate. Probably safe.
Are there stones?
There was. I haven't been up there in a while though. There was.
Have you been there, Jeremy?
I have.
Are there
Any
stones?
there?
I haven't walked in the cemetery. I was with the landowner, so
Waiting for Halloween to go in?
a little spooky.
Yeah, there was. But
Well, I think we were gonna do a survey up there anyway. Were we gonna walk around up there?
Site plan review?
Weren't we gonna do
Site
that?
visit, yeah.
Yeah, site visit.
I know we did it 10 years ago
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
with snow on the ground.
Yes, we did.
Some snow now.
So,
Well, we could have done it the other day or something.
I mean, we could always do that,
Mhm.
take a run up there. Jeremy could meet us there,
That sounds great.
and we'd probably solve a lot of questions.
Now, how do the meetings work now, Bill? If we all went? Do we have
Well, I mean, it's,
or two at
yeah.
a time, or?
I mean, it's always this clunky issue of,
You can't talk about.
Yeah. So you can't talk business. If you have a quorum and you intend to talk business, then you have to publish and post, because then it's a meeting. If you have less than a quorum, then it's not. Then go look around and not talk. Talk here. That's New York
So
rules.
small talk,
New York
small
rules.
banter,
Yeah, you can
right,
talk
yeah.
about other things, but not your project, the things you want to talk about.
Okay, cool.
You wanna do a site visit or no?
Yeah, sure. I don't care. What's good for anybody? You wanna go 2 by 2, or you got the public meeting, or the other?
We always went as a group and then.
Yeah.
Refrain from any
Talk.
discussion of business. You wanna go April?
Yeah, okay.
If you make it a Friday at noon, I can meet you there.
Friday at noon?
Yeah, I can't go this Friday, but,
No, you just said Friday at
I
noon?
said a Friday, a Friday.
Yeah, if you guys need me to, please just let me know.
25th would work for me.
What about you, Nate?
Yeah, just let me know when, and I'll, take time off.
I won't be here on the 25th.
We'll do another time then. That's fine. Dare I suggest a weekend? Or an evening after work could work too. Got daylight till almost 7 o'clock, right?
Friday morning's good to me, that don't matter to me.
Saturday morning?
Yeah.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
It's gonna be raining, I believe, this Saturday.
Yep,
Yeah.
in the evening.
In the evening?
Yes.
Oh, he said Saturday morning.
Right. Saturday night's supposed to rain.
Oh, I thought it was.
It's Saturday
My wife
night.
told me Saturday morning, so yeah, that's why I was supposed to be on get mulch duty this weekend, so.
I think it'll be okay.
Well, we can't do Friday, cause that's Good Friday.
Oh yeah, Easter is this weekend, correct? Yeah.
What's Saturday? That falls in between.
Saturday?
It don't matter to me.
Yeah, I can go Saturday if you guys want.
What time?
9 o'clock?
9:30?
Yeah.
Be right at the site? Alright, you bring the donuts.
Okay,
Can we push it to 9:30?
we're pushing it.
I can get there for 9:30. I don't think I can do 9.
9:30 is fine. Give me time to get to donuts.
Demanding.
I know. I'm just trying to accommodate my schedule.
Yeah, that's fine.
That all right with you?
Yeah.
Two weekends?
No, this weekend.
19th.
This weekend? Okay.
19th to 9:30, yeah.
Sure.
Coming from New York City.
You're not a mulch duty.
Yeah. You come from New York?
I got a pregnant wife at home, it's not the best time.
Like 10. 10 would.
10? What time do you get up in the morning?
He works in New York City.
Oh, you
If you stay overnight Friday, then you can get there
I could
early.
make 9:30 work, but.
So what is it, 9:30?
Yeah, if it's good with you.
Yeah.
You sure?
It'll be a good
You
early
never
morning.
plans Friday night.
What?
You never plans Friday night, right?
No. It's me and my cat.
That go with you, Bern?
The 19th?
So we really can't do nothing. MJ.
No, but I think
not here.
my suggestion is, I think, Mr. Chairman, you probably want to communicate some of this information with MJ and get some recommendations. And perhaps, be prepared to communicate your observations
Sure.
To MJ, and then at the next meeting, you'll discuss your observations here.
Everybody got that?
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
You gotta communicate with MJ.
No, I'll just give notes to the chair, and she can communicate with MJ. All right, I guess that's it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
Same here. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
See you, Alexa.
Thank you.
Posted hard ones.
Well, for you.
Yeah, that's why I'd rather just be in it.
Oh, here we go.
3-minute timeline?
Yeah, 2-minute time, right? Who's gonna keep track for me? He's got it.
You have to remember here this time.
So that brings us to special use permit. Lehman's Peep, no, Yeah, for Magic Forest Farm, application for a special use permit for temporary campground on property owned by Joe Mahoney, property located at 134 Bucks Ranch Road, tax map 130.2-20.1. The public hearing was left open from the last meeting. If anybody wants anything to say, you have a 3-minute time limit. And, yeah, we want to discuss anything?
Yeah, basically, I'm withdrawing the consideration for the September events.
That's a 500.
Yes,
Okay.
based on health code law,
Oh.
only allowed 60 hours in the calendar year. So I have to withdraw consideration for that.
So the 2 dates then are,
The 6th and the 2nd weekend. Until I'm able to obtain 60 hours is what's allowed. Across that threshold.
Was that the festival, the September one?
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, that's not consideration.
All right, so Jason, fill me in. When are the events gonna be?
One weekend, in May.
That's it?
That's all I'm allowed, yep.
oh, so you knock off 2 then?
Yeah, the 6th and September 6th and, the large 500-person one, the one was only 1 day. But in order to comply with, health code, I'm only allowed 60 hours.
May, what's the date, May what?
Last weekend in May, I forget, so 30th,
May 29th to June 1st,
June
is that
1st.
the one you're staying with?
Yep,
And that was how many people?
300 max,
That's including workers?
including workers, it's about 350.
So it's after Mr. Biscone's birthday.
And I know this board was considering further restrictions on sound. I would ask that if it's possible, we keep with the original recommendations. I'm already got quite a few restrictions and this is already in place. So a further restriction on, everyone else in town has to abide by 11 o'clock sound violations ordinance. I think that further restricting me to 10 o'clock is unfair for my business. And, but I'm already restricted only 3 days.
Anybody else got a question for me?
How come for 2 years it met the qualifications and then this year it didn't? Something different at the county?
I don't know, like, they said that, the last time, the first year I did, I never went through county, because I just got a permit through Santee, and I wasn't required to come in front of you guys. And then the last time, there was only one event. The other ones got canceled, so they only told me.
Yeah, but we approved all the events.
Yeah. Yeah, the health department, they did, and I told Max, that Max Ferris he's the director of the health department. Yes, he just, changed it on me, so he said that I needed to, abide by, campground law, which,
You're not considered a campground.
Right, I'm not considered a campground until I have either over 5 campsites or 60 hours in a calendar year, and then I got to become a commercial campground, which I plan on doing, but it's quite extensive in cost and permitting. So I would have to come in front of this board and get a permanent campground permit and not come for these temporary ones.
So, did you give deposits to these bands and all that, or?
The first one is like, that's the one in September, we hadn't moved forward with that yet, so it really wasn't a financial hit to us or my partners yet. They already, they just decided to move back to Stone Ridge and go to the original farm that they were at, and the one on the 6th, that's just a smaller event it's just gonna be what I'm allowed with the 20 people. And it might not even be that day, but involved with one of my neighbors who is here today, and he works with a farm. very large.
So it's just May 29th is the only one.
May 29th.
300, 350, whatever.
Through June 1st?
I hope to eventually get a permanent campground, but it's a few years away before I can probably afford the infrastructure.
That's crazy.
Anything else for him? Okay, thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to speak?
Hi, Beth Hunter, 262 Brooklyn Hill Road. Jason is asking to keep the sound going till 11 p.m. Well, I disagree, and I would prefer that it stop at 10. It's very loud, and people need to get up and go to work or enjoy life and not have the bump, 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 bump going till 11. And if you have bands that are on and, they ran over, so now it's past 11 o'clock. If you're a campground, he wants to become a campground permanent site eventually. Well, campgrounds, your quiet time starts at 10.
We got here to 10:30.
Well, I think 10 would be good. There's a lot of residential homes with
That's 10:30.
families, and we would like to get rest and have relief from the noise. So I would say that 10 o'clock is plenty long enough to have the music going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Patricia, last time I said I gave you Espen. I'm on Copeland Hill Road, 382 Copeland Hill Road. I brought some observation in a letter to Patricia last time. She asked me to email it to the board. Did you guys receive it? Was it distributed? It was distributed. Like everyone has got those observations.
Yes.
So in regards to what was said at last meeting, there seems to be the lack of proper notification regarding the zoning board meeting in regards to the Magic Forest Farm. It's a serious concern because evidence suggests that the failure to adequately inform the affected residents, including the Hughes, residing a mere 800 feet from the proposed concert location, and also Mr. Scott, located only 1,000 feet from the stage. These properties were seemingly not notified with the zoning board postcard that was sent out. And these are adjacent properties, just 800 and 1,000 feet away from the stage. So I think this oversight is particularly troubling, given this significant number of neighbors who voiced their concern regarding noise for previous concerts in 2022 and 2021. It appears the zoning board have neglected to notify even those with properties directly adjacent to the Magic Forest Farm. And seemingly none of the residents who registered complaints about the noise in 2022 have received any notifications of the zoning board's meeting besides of myself and Mr. Connor. Furthermore, the zoning board is apparently reevaluating an application identical to one previously dismissed in 2022 to ensure transparency and proper community engagement. The zoning board must issue a postcard notification containing explicit information regarding the re-applications for the 3 musical concerts, which maybe is just 1 or 2 concerts and everything. These notifications must be mailed to all affected residents, including those in the Larsen Lake area and the Feuerbusch areas who attended. Those residents from both those areas attended the 2022 meetings. Failure to adequately inform the affected residents will render this meeting disingenuous exercise. According to the online information, it appears that the concert tickets are already being sold, allegedly. For the first concert, which of course raises a serious question about the legitimacy of the application process, or if the verdict of it already had been, decided, since, applications are on sale and we haven't issued a permit or not.
That's 3 minutes up, sir.
Okay, that's it.
So you're saying you didn't send out postcards?
Well, even Patricia, who was at your board, she's living down the street, around the corner. She didn't receive this postcard. And so it seems like I only know Kevin the Connors and myself, but even the property owners who have adjacent properties like 800 and 1,000 feet away from the stage did not receive. Allegedly, I've been told.
We don't really have to. We don't really have to. We only have to do it, Jason.
So, Mr. Collins, I'll give you a little insight to this. So, last time they were here, initially in 22, I'll just say.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it was when they got approved, we did a 1 mile radius.
To the board's discretion.
From the site, that was your discretion, 1 mile radius, that was 50 postcards. This time we went down to 3/4 of a mile, it still hit 50 people. And they were sent out, and I have them in my files.
I'm just going from what I've been informed myself about who allegedly have not received postcards. But as it was evidence from the last meeting, we had people here from Feuerbusch and also Larsen Lake, which is a much larger, because as has been described by many of the people here coming here, the valley extend extensively. So we have those neighborhoods, came here last time, voiced opinion, objection to the noise. I think it's reasonable. I understand it's a bother to have people coming in here, but I think it's reasonable still to involve the residents of the neighborhood.
So you've asked them people, and they said he didn't get a card?
I've been informed that these two people that I mentioned here has not received, allegedly have not received.
Have you talked to them now?
Not personally, no.
I have.
You have?
I have.
So are they here tonight?
No.
Did they submit any comments to the board?
No, they have not,
Okay.
but I do believe that they are watching online. Because one gentleman did watch online last time.
The application was already processed in 2022 from Magic Forest Farm where it was denied. How many when if it goes to court, if you have a court case, you cannot just continue and re-applicate, file the same suit. There has to be a limit for how much you can exhaust the public to show up. They did last time. The problem is the same. It was last time the application was declined because of all those reasons.
And the same people received those postcards again.
Yeah, but last time there was more. There was people who informed. In 2021, nobody knew where the music came from. Everyone was puzzled in those areas.
We're not talking about.
No. So in 2022, when the board meetings were the application last time, people knew because there's been, people have been talking, so people knew that this was going on. So this time, it's just I received the postcard and Kevin Connor received the postcard, but it doesn't say on the postcard what it is.
Yes, it does.
But not that it's an application for the concerts.
Special use
Yes,
permit.
that's what it says.
Yes.
Yes.
Here's the list of people.
Yeah.
They receive postcards.
Yeah.
It's not my fault if they don't want to show up.
But Patricia, for example, she's down the street. She didn't receive it. Is she on the list?
Patricia is more than a mile away.
So last time at the meeting in 2022, we have people coming from Larsen Lake, which is quite far, and Feuerbusch.
I live on Lawson Lake Road.
Okay.
So, and I don't recall hearing the music. Now, it might just be where I am, right? I have actually, if you go directly at the end of Copeland Hill, you go over the hill, I'm on the other side of Lawson. I'm on Lawson Lake Road right there, and perhaps the hill blocks the sound, but I hear the rumble strips on 32 that they added in the center of the highway, but I don't recall hearing the music. But, yeah.
That's what I remember. I was informed that in 2022 that we have people. That was discussed back then. That but I agree with you. It's over a mountain, so
it's kind of hard to say how that works.
Easily imagine that not everyone. Literally, where Jason's farm is, you can't hear the music. When you walk on Brooks Ranch Road down, there's a passage on that road where you cannot listen. You can't hear the music. then you come down to a Weber house which is 600 feet away from the building, and it's just over the stages.
Yep.
And we are the one who have, I mean, when you have that valley, we are the one who is exposed to the music. And I'm just merely 600 feet away, he's 2,000 feet. So that's what I'm asking, why is it not possible to have the concert at the farm instead of, have he done any actions to limit the exposure to adjacent neighbor? He could easily have, he has 200, or more than 200 acres of land. The concert could be put where his house is.
Another one? Okay.
Well, Council, good evening. My name is George Adler. I'm working with Jason for the festival in question for the end of May. I just want to point out, I do hear everyone's valid concerns about, sound. They do travel. For the other events that he did host, the music was more, of a harder metal or rock sound. The music that I'll be bringing for this event is more of a melodic, kind of a bluegrass, psytrance sound. So it's not really a bass amplified event. That's what usually travels the most when people feel the vibrations through the earth. So that's gonna be alleviated with rising the speakers off the ground, so it's not contacted. But the biggest concern I see here, and Josh, Jason's your name, right?
Mike.
Mike, sorry. So how you referenced with the other gentleman when he was drawing in the lines for the site map is, if the town's time limit sound ordinance has been 11 p.m. to arbitrarily just change it for this one event and not even just focus on this one property, it does set a precedent for going down the roads. What can and cannot be changed if it's already set in law, that it can just be arbitrarily changed at a whim. To help, alleviate the sounds, I understand his concern of trying to move it. There's a stage already built there, so you're talking about thousands of dollars to build a whole new infrastructure into another location, and it's just, the costs do add up, and the whole point or the goal of this property is longevity, is not only to bring music to the town, but also, bring some extra business to the town. Any shops, stores, any businesses really in general be able to benefit from the increased foot traffic that the town will experience. And to know this is only just one event for this summer, but the goal, as Jason said, the longevity of it, to grow it and within the parameters of what the town agrees with, it would just be nice to, keep it copacetic with everyone, but understand that, it's a business as well. And that's kind of my spiel right there.
Okay, thank you.
I have a few concerns once I get there. My name's Kevin Hunter. I live at 262 Copeland Hill Road. My first question for the board is, was there a site plan submitted for this project? As in 2022?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, we'll take that out of the way. Okay, this one that's gonna be happening is 300 people. My concerns are water, sewage, and garbage. I take that the site plan all addresses that. Am I correct? Jason?
You're
You're
addressing the board now, sir. Sorry.
The site plan adjusts all that. Security, medical personnel, and fire watch. Does the site plan address all that? I have not heard of anything about that yet. Also, I have just heard that there is a maximum of 5 possible campsites. On this actually, the property has 4 campsites. 4 tent, which is unlimited, and 4 upgraded. We call them ukes. So we're talking 8 sites. If this is a campsite that can only have 5 max, it's already over the number of campsites. The next question is 300 people or 350 people. How do they fit on 5 campsites? Where are they going to park all the cars? The other thing I want to address as the projection is Shepherd's Production, Sound and Safe. Again, everybody's calling this a campground. This production is a festival. It's a music festival of 25 or more personnel, or bands, I should say. So, being a campsite or a festival, festivals are not allowed in restricted zoning. The other thing I want to mention is the main stage. The main stage is 297 yards from the road, overlooking the road. It's 331 yards from the nearest house, and it's 464 yards from Jason's house. So now you know how the music flows down through there, down through the valley.
How'd you get the yardage?
Oh, I'm very good at it. Mr. Gentleman looking for a surveyor. I have one in the family.
It's time.
Well, time?
Yep.
Okay. If you have any more questions, please ask.
Yeah, I think so. This one.
Hi, my name is Thomas Linehan. I own a piece of property adjacent to Magic Forest Farm. It's at 437 Copeland Hill Road. I've been involved in almost every event that's ever happened at Magic Forest Farm. I filed a permit from the board or from maybe the building department in the past for a small event that happened there around 2021, I think. Yeah, I'm also a music lover. I know it could be hard to believe like why we'd want to go into the forest and listen to music, you know, or be in strong favor of this event or these events, but I am for sure. I've been to events that George has hosted. They've all been executed very well as the other events at Magic Forest Farm. They've been organized, safe, pleasant, really just a general good time. Other people from the community that I've met, general area, all up in the area, Queens Hollow, speak pretty highly of the events and in favor or just happy to know that we're doing them or may want to attend. I've also just seen Jason work incredibly hard on creating the amphitheater space, the infrastructure at the farm for many years, like 5 or 10 years at least. So definitely in strong favor of this permit being approved, and really want to thank you for your work on this over multiple years. It seems like compromises are being made all around. I'd like the 11 p.m. noise ordinance to be respected and honored, my personal opinion. But again, just thanks for your work on this issue and hearing what everyone has to say and figuring out all these details. Really hope that you will approve the permit. Thank you very much.
What's your last name, Tom?
Linehan.
Monet?
Linehan, Linehan. Yeah, if there are any questions or anything else to talk about with me, I'd be happy now or any time with the board. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, how are you? My name is Dave Gagan. I live on Route 143. And I've been to a couple of his festivals. I'm a professional musician. I've played at lots of large festivals. And, you know, I think they've done a great job trying to put it together. All of the questions around, you know, the sewage and the bathrooms and the medical pieces, those are really well done. The last one I attended. I think the issue around they've already put tickets on sale. Like I'm in this business. I know you have to get out in front of it. And if they have to issue refunds, there's always ways to do that. But a lot of festivals run into these things that come up close where the building and planning board isn't quite sure, and you kind of have to go there. And if at the end of the day you can't work something out, you can obviously do refunds. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I recognize that Jason has put a lot of his time and his own money into making this happen, and I think He's done everything that should be required to do it. He's kept me up to date. I don't claim to know all the facts, et cetera. But from what I understand, it seems that he's done what he could. And as to the timing of the noise ordinance, there's a reason why we have a law, and the law is, should be applied to people. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have two letters that needs to be read in two minutes.
Mr. Chairman, an email was received from Bill Young. It was sent Thursday, April 10, 2025 at 8:10 p.m. And it was received by Mr. Shimoleski. Subject, Magic Forest Farm music venues. Regarding the application for the above mentioned and any music events for 2025, I wanted to address a couple of issues that have been presented within our neighborhood regarding the music events. It has been stated that thousands of residents were adversely affected by loud music coming from Magic Forest Farm. Firstly, there are not thousands of residents within earshot of Magic Forest Farm. That is grossly overstated. Yes, the music in the past could be heard in the immediate area. However, as a resident of Copeland Hill Road, we found it to be minor and no louder than if a neighbor was having a party or wedding. Secondly, it was reported that music was so loud that the windows were rattling. Again, grossly overstated, as the venue was at an elevated area and quite a distance through the woods, making it impossible with the immense wood lines to cause that kind of reaction. As much as some neighbors may not find the type of music that was played in the past and not to their general liking, I question if the same would be felt if it was country music or bluegrass music. Would such a fuss and negativity be present today? I did attend one of the past events on both a Saturday and Sunday afternoon, as I was invited, as were other neighbors, some of which did attend, and found that overall everyone in attendance was enjoying themselves and no one was out of line. For those that complained without giving benefit of the doubt, shame on them. They should have attended before passing judgment ahead of time. I would suggest for those in question to contact Magic Forest Farm and view exactly what the farm is about prior to making judgment. Perhaps music went on further than the noise ordinance allows. However, limiting the hours from 3 to 8 p.m. is out of line for any residents within the town of Queens. That would then subject them to the same hours should they have a party or wedding on their property using either a live band or disc jockey. For any events throughout the summer that are scheduled at Magic Forest Farm, as long as everything is kept under control and within reason, in keeping with the current ordinances, I feel that, as in the past, events that Magic Forest Farm may have had, I do not find any adverse conditions that affect our end of Copeland Hill Road. I feel any grossly overstated complaints should be addressed individually and fairly without prejudice. 531 Copeland Hill Road, sent from my iPad, Bill Young, with a phone number. So that's the first letter, Mr. Chairman. The second is an email received from Marlene McTighe. It was sent Monday, April 14, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. to Jason Shimoleski. Subject, letter of support, Magic Forest Farms. Dear Mr. Shimoleski, we hope this message finds you well. I'm writing on behalf of our family to express our full support for our neighbors at Magic Forest Farms and their interest in hosting music festivals on their property. We understand that some concerns have been raised regarding noise, but we feel strongly that this is an opportunity for the town of Queens to demonstrate its commitment to supporting small, innovative local businesses. Magic Forest Farms is a positive and creative presence in our community, and we believe their efforts to build a sustainable livelihood through events like these deserve encouragement, not roadblocks. Queens prides itself on being a business-friendly community. That spirit should extend to local entrepreneurs who are working hard to create something unique, build community, and contribute to the local economy. We urge the town to work with Magic Forest Farms to find a balanced and supportive path forward, perhaps one that limits live music hours, but does not forbid them altogether. As we understand it in the village of Ravena, there are noise restrictions between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Perhaps the town of Queens could adopt a similar policy which will help Magic Forest succeed in their endeavor. This would send a strong message that Queens values growth, entrepreneurship, and the diverse character of our rural community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Please read at the meeting. Warm regards, the McTighe family, with a phone number.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Does anyone else want to speak? Anything else?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I would suggest that the board would look at land use permit, 125 attachment 5 for special use permits, which does provide special use permits for campgrounds, but not festivals.
Right, that's why he's getting a special use permit. Anybody else?
Maybe I kind of agree with the last letter to some point. I mean, there's truth in what was spoken, because as I also mentioned, like when you walk from the concert place through the Fox Range Road, that's a passage where you cannot hear the music. But then when you get down, so it's really like, you know, the stage is placed in such a way that it echoes through the valley. But if the music was moved to somewhere else, you know, closer to where the main properties of the Magic Forest Farm, I believe nobody would hear it. I think it would, because of the years, there wouldn't be a complaint.
Thank you.
So I kind of agree partly with the last email.
Yeah.
Hi, Kristen Gagan. I just want to speak in support of Magic Forest Farm and their festivals and their plans to make money and be sustainable there. And if the town has a noise ordinance of 11 p.m., then that should apply to everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is closed. So now the discussion. You were up there, Jason, a couple of times last year, correct?
Yes, when they got approved, yes.
There was nothing, I don't know, he was doing what he was supposed to do?
No, I have written documents that are filed, and he was.
No police, the police wasn't called for anything?
Well, the stipulations that the board put on him, he was compliant with.
The application before us is for the special use permit to designate this as a temporary campsite, correct?
Correct.
That is how it is filled out, correct.
Right, okay.
So I think Mr. Bill has some drafts of stipulations, I believe.
I just need to get some sense, I mean, I think the issue for the board is that if the board, obviously, you know, you're down to a consideration of what you want to do. So you can approve, you can disapprove, or you can approve with conditions. So what we did was we took a look at the conditions that had been opposed. Jason was very helpful. That had been imposed the last time. And I think I just need to get some direction from the board of if your inclination is to start to talk about the conditions, you know, then we can talk about what they might look like using the conditions that had been imposed in the past. The additional condition, just picking up on what had been left off where we left off the last time, we did also take a look at the insurance issue, and you may remember that was discussed. So we would recommend that, at a minimum, the condition include that applicant and/or property owner shall obtain, keep, and maintain general liability insurance in full force and effect throughout the duration of the special use permit, naming and affording affirmative coverage in favor of the town, the applicant, and the property owner on an occurrence basis with coverage of no less than $1 million. Written proof of the insurance shall be delivered to the building department in a form satisfactory to the town attorney before commencement of any and all activities allowed by the special use permit that you're considering. And the applicant has been forthcoming with a number of different policies. We're in the process of checking both the coverage dates as it relates to any dates this board may consider. So that'll be important to determine that the coverage would be in effect. But we do believe preliminarily, based on what we've seen thus far, that the insurance condition will likely be satisfied. So that was one. The other one that had been discussed was the Albany County Planning Board. That requirement is now satisfied in terms of the County Planning Board looking at it. But as the applicant has indicated, the County Planning Board's condition was that the Albany County Department of Health look at it. And I think you heard what the outcome of that was, which is a difference. And you'll recall that at the last meeting, it was specifically discussed, and this board said, no, it is going back to the Albany County Health Department again. We're not going to just rest on what had been done in the past. So that one is done. And then, I think any conditions, at least I understand from the past practice of the board, is that conditions would have to be strictly followed, that they can't be relaxed, and that a failure to follow any of the conditions would result in the immediate revocation of the temporary permit and the limited duration special permit. Access to the property, which I understand is not a problem, but it's supposed to be made available in terms of conditions, if you're inclined to go in that direction, has to be made available to the town code enforcement officer for the duration of the special permit use to ensure compliance. Those are some of the basic ones, and then the other ones, the applicant has to provide contact information with respect to the police department, the sheriff's department, code enforcement office, fire department. I don't know that we have any other agencies, but I think that was something that was done in the past in terms of having, and when we talk about contact, I mean direct contact on the site at all times, and that was required previously. Previously, what this board had done in considering conditions was that the applicant and the owner had to maintain at least one registered nurse on duty on the property throughout the duration of the special permit, and at least one EMT on duty on the property between the hours of, and that's really up to the board in terms of what, I think the board's going to probably discuss this subject of time and hours. In addition, there was a requirement of this board that the applicant and the owner maintain sufficient potable water and that it be accessible to persons on the site. And again, I think there was a discussion in the past with respect to the time period that was available. The easy answer is it's throughout the duration of the event. It's as simple as that. And then in the prior specification in terms of conditions, this board had required 14, as I understand it historically, porta potty type lavatories. And the question is, at what points in time are they required to be there? Perhaps the duration of the event. Now that we're talking about a single event, is a consideration of the board. And with multiple events, it was a consideration of when they would be emptied. That's a consideration, I think, for the board to consider. Obviously, the other ones are hours of operation. I'll leave that to the board to determine. And then now we've, I think, reduced the period of time of the duration of the permit from 3 events, as I understood the initial application, to now 1. So those, Mr. Chairman, would be the appropriate considerations with respect to conditions. So you have disapprove on the one hand, approve on the other, and then approve with conditions.
I think we should approve it with conditions.
Yeah. Can we change porta potty to portable restroom?
Use the porta potty. Okay.
Am I showing my generational?
Portable toilet.
Or John?
Yeah.
Portable
restroom.
Portable restroom. We talked about 14
Portable restrooms.
portable restrooms. The 2022 event, were there 14 portable restrooms at that event?
My understanding is yes.
And then do we know what the attendance was at that event? Was it about 300 or?
I'd have to look back in the old file to tell you, because I know there's a.
I'm just wondering if we need to
Right,
adjust
'cause
our
so
number.
many people- Because there's a certain number, right.
Can, okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing you guys are gonna have to think about, and
That's plenty of porta.
how many people he's gonna have and what the requirement is from the health department.
Well, there's no requirement for them, right?
There's so many people.
Department, do they have health requirement for that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, because that is a health
Sure.
health
Okay.
department
Okay.
code. That is
Okay.
not a building or a fire code that I enforce.
So the dates are the 29th, right?
May 29th through June 1st. Let's stay after Mr. Focus.
Yeah, that's the 29th, that's Thursday. Is there music played on Thursday?
Yes, but not on the main stage. So it's in the woods and very reduced decibel level.
What do you do for the garbage, Jason?
I have a dump truck, so I have people put all the garbage in the dump truck, and then I'll go on Saturday, and then I go again on Tuesday when the dump opens.
All the garbage goes in a dump truck?
Yeah, it goes in the cans, and at the end of the night, we go around as a staff and put it in the dump trucks before the animals and stuff get out and get it.
Albert's got roll-offs if you need them up there.
So what do you want to do for time?
In my opinion, I think we should follow what the town ordinance is, and if it's 11 PM, I don't think that this should be treated differently. If I were having a family reunion at my house on Lawson Lake, and I'm allowed to have music playing till 11 PM, I think that that is reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that too, except I was just gonna do maybe Sunday at 10, but I agree with 11, I mean, it's
I don't know if there's
no music on Sunday.
June 1st?
No.
This Sunday is just.
Oh, that's right, no,
Back up and go.
Sunday, I got you. Yeah, okay, all right. What do you think, Bern?
So Jason, what do you have for water for them?
Bottled water, we give out bottled water, and we recommend people bring their own water. People that don't follow that recommendation, there's free bottled water for them.
3.7 liters per day per person is what they recommend. So you got cases and cases and cases.
Yeah, we got cases of water, but like I said, very few people go there without their own water when they're recommended to bring their own.
the music on Thursday evening.
Yes.
What time is the music's planned to end Thursday?
It's planned to end at 11, but like I said, it's very reduced.
I mean,
decibel levels.
what my plan would be with everyone's concerns, I can definitely, have the end times be about 10:45. That'll give a little buffer room if they play a little bit over, but we'll still make sure it ends probably before 11.
Oh, okay, yep. Okay. And that's not gonna be on main stage, though, you
No,
said?
Thursday will be in the woods, and it's jazz music, so it's good. Very, very light in sound decibels.
What do you think, Bern?
Man, it was doing the same thing or less than what they did the last time, so.
Okay, so the only,
There's no complaints.
so we'll leave that, and you wanna figure out the portable restrooms?
Yeah, I mean, I Googled it real quick. I don't know if it's considered official, but it said, general rule, 1 porta john per 75 guests.
More than that.
But
Well, Jason said that there are health department regulations, so could we defer, or could we write the condition in such a way that would defer to whatever the health department recommendation is?
no less than.
No less than what is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's 14 of them is
14.
people.
Quick question.
Yeah.
For the 14, does that rely also on them being cleaned? Because when you clean them, it's basically a fresh porta potty. And the
Right.
plan is that they'll be dropped off Thursday and cleaned Saturday. So I don't know if that changes in the sense of the quantity needed, but if 14 is what is needed, then that's what will be provided.
Yeah, I'd hope they'd be clean.
Well, I think the proposed condition I think that we had was that they would be clean.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the plan as it stands now.
Yep.
I mean, the last event that they did, the one that they were finally allowed to do, there wasn't any complaints that I heard of to authorities. Jason went up there throughout the weekend. There's nothing to report. They followed all the rules. They've done everything we've asked them to do so far here.
Agreed.
So, I mean, my opinion, just my opinion, I would say we'll approve it with the conditions that we just discussed.
Okay. You gonna make that motion? Oh, wait a minute.
Are there actually quiet hours then? Do you, well, you have done, go ahead, Mr. McGuire. That's,
Sorry, Bill.
no.
Somebody.
Yeah, I mean.
Been here for 2 hours, we're gonna loop it.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike.
The only thing we didn't discuss was the nurse or EMT. I don't know if that would be included in there as well.
That was.
Okay, that's in
That
there.
was
Okay.
EMT on site.
Okay, all right, I just wanted.
required to have a nurse before either?
Yeah,
It was
nurse-
just- It was just that. it wasn't
Okay.
there.
We got an EMT.
Yeah.
EMTs were required, it wasn't a nurse.
But there was also,
Hours.
I thought there was a.
Yeah, there's a photograph of a woman who's
there
an
was
RN.
a letter prior to you guys saying that he was going to be there on that date,
The nurse?
so that you knew,
EMT?
the EMT.
Oh, okay.
For this one, you mean?
No, for the prior one that they got approved on.
Okay.
You guys already had that letter stating
That they would be.
that they
was
were
gonna
going
be
to be there, yes, with their credentials. There was what?
But there was a nurse.
That woman was an EMT.
I think the nurse
There
was
was a
just
woman?
attending the event. I don't think she was there like officially.
Okay.
Right, but she had the,
She has a badge?
the defibrillator thing, I remember.
AED.
Yeah, there's a photo.
And then the man
Yep.
was the EMT, right, Jason?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need a nurse? EMT.
I mean, we could,
There was an EMT last time.
I mean, I have one set for the duration. He'll be there from start to finish. The EMT is already booked and set to be there.
Right, I mean,
I think we can.
I don't have that document yet of the EMT's name or nothing.
Okay, so that's something we're gonna
do
need.
you want to set that as a stipulation that you receive, that as long as you receive the letter?
Well, I think
Or a
you
letter.
should receive that prior
Oh, yeah.
to doing that. Correct, Bill? Shouldn't they see that letter?
No, I mean, it's.
one of the
Yeah,
stipulations.
it'll be a condition that the building department receive the credentials.
Before issuing the permit,
Right, but don't you want it now so that?
well, then you can get it in. I trust your judgment.
Yeah, as long as you
Yes.
get
Well,
it.
I'm just saying that's how we did it last time.
Okay.
You guys already had it,
Oh, well.
and then you still put it in the stipulation.
Yeah, but if it's in the stipulation, they're gonna have
You
to,
can send
they're
it to
gonna
me, and
have
then
to
you can
give it to you
email it.
before you.
Okay.
can- Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, that seems
The letter and,
The notice of the different agencies, my only thought was a paramedic, but actually I think they're covered by Albany County Sheriff, so that would cover that.
Okay.
I don't have anything else on any other proposed conditions, so.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
So can I just get the hours? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that everybody's clear. So what will be the hours? Because in the past, my understanding was there was a specification of the quiet hours. And so does the board have an inclination toward that in this instance? And just as a reminder, what I found was quiet hours shall exist between the hours of 11 p.m. Friday and 10:30 a.m. Saturday, 11 a.m. Saturday and 10:30 a.m. Sunday, and 8 p.m. Sunday until 9 a.m. Monday. Now, admittedly, that was over a longer duration of time. Quiet hours shall be strictly enforced by the applicant, his representatives, contract vendee, and the property owner. During quiet hours, no noise shall cross the applicant's property owner's property line that can be heard by any person on any other property. That was the prior condition that
sounds good to me. I don't know what you guys think. I'm pretty sure that's those times are what the actual noise, they were similar to what the noise ordinance is.
So I think
The noise ordinance is 11 PM to 7 AM.
Yeah, that was that.
The board put a stipulation that he couldn't start anything till 10:30 AM.
Do we wanna do that again, or do we wanna just follow the law?
You think, yeah?
Is 10:30 AM, is that what
I'm
time?
gonna do music at that time anyway, I don't plan to start till noon. In consideration for everyone, I'm gonna do my best to,
All right.
have a nice pleasant morning to wake up.
That works.
So
And we're good.
we'll stick with those times, Bill.
Thank you.
So Jason, based on your past festivals where there weren't any problems, I don't foresee there's gonna be any problem here. I understand what the hunters are saying.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, you're taking a nice country setting with residential houses. You're taking 3 days where you're bringing 300 people and loud music and that's not what they live there for. But I think with these conditions, we can keep some harmony there. And allow you to have the festival and keep peace with the neighbors too.
Vast majority of them I have made peace with, you know, there's 90%.
You just have to keep things from getting out of hand, that's all. That's what we're trying to do. It's fun, it's nice to have a good time and enjoy the music, and we just don't want to see things disarray.
Yeah, I don't wanna see things out of hand either.
And they haven't for the last, for the last couple of
No,
festivals.
it's not that type of stuff. They're not heavy drinkers, it's not rowdy type of people.
No, we accepted it. Did we accept it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we
a
already
motion
said.
to approve, subject to the conditions.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the special use permit, subject to the conditions that are on record that we spoke about, with the understanding that if any of those conditions are violated, the permit will be rescinded for, where is it on here? Magic Forest Farms, the special use permit for their property located at 134 Bucks Ranch Road, tax map number 130.-2-20.1.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Boomer, seconded by Mr. Nolan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, seeing as there's no additional business before the board, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the April 14th meeting between the planning board and zoning board of appeals.
Motion made by Mr. Dwyer. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Boomer, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.